Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the Updates Danger Zone dev server, and it's time to have a look at all of the little interesting additions to different vehicles which has come in. So without just looking at the new vehicles, a lot of pre-existing vehicles also got a lot of additions to them. So I thought, why not do a video kind of covering them? We're not going to cover all of them because some of them are just reload changes or optical changes, but we'll cover some of the decent ones to give you a general idea of how the vehicles that you are going to be using are going to change. So starting off with the STRV-122B PLSS, they've actually added a mine protection modification for it. So right now, if I have a look at the armor, you can see it has this 30mm plate underneath it, which would act as mine protection for the vehicle. Now, if you uninstall that plate, it reduces the weight of the vehicle, and also you don't get access to that 30mm plate. So instead, you only have that 40mm one, which is sat here. So if you want additional protection near the ground, maybe to do with some mechanics coming in at some point, who knows, then you can get it on the STRV-122. But at the same time, you can also not get it on the STRV-122 and save some weight and be able to move around a little bit quicker. There's also been a ton of changes to custom loadouts and things like that. A lot of vehicles have been given custom loadouts that they didn't have before. This is a mechanic which is going to be moved around for a lot of different vehicles as it goes forward. The main one to have a look at, though, which has changed, is the F4j Phantom 2. The F4j Phantom 2 now has access to a pretty decent loadout. It gets access to this one that you can see here, so you can bring along 4 AIM-7F Sparrows and also 4 AIM-9G Sidewinders. This means that this vehicle can be very combat effective, and you can see the Sparrows are sat in the center here and also sat on the pylon. So this pylon is super cool. So it carries 2 AIM-9Gs and then also a AIM-7F on it as well. So I thought that was nice to actually mention about. The next one is the F4E, which gets something different as well. So this now can carry 6 Mavericks, 3 on either side, on one of the hide points on each of the sides, and they are the AGM-65Bs. You can also bring it along with a bunch of Sparrows, a bunch of AIM-9Js, and also a bunch of GAU-4s if you feel like it, making this thing have a ridiculous amount of weaponry, which is one of the things that these custom loadouts are going to give you. You can see here with this hardpoint, it carries 3 Mavericks and 2 AIM-9Js, which is just an insane amount of ordnance on one single pylon. Also, at the same time, moving to another of the Phantoms which are about, you can see the F4E Kai also has access to some new Sparrow missiles. It gets the AIM-7Fs. Before it got the E2s, now instead it gets the AIM-7Es and then the AIM-7Fs. This might be a buff or a nerf depending on your playstyle when it comes to the vehicle itself. I feel like most people are probably going to prefer the AIM-7E2s just because of their dogfighting nature, but a lot of people will like to see the Fs as well, just for that long range addition of firepower. So that's the new thing on the F4EJ, along with the custom loadout stuff. Then also we have some helicopter changes. So the first one is the Mi-35M. What they've done with the Mi-35 is they've added some cool rockets. So you have the S-130F rockets now. These are huge rockets. You can see 6.9 kilos of explosive mass and also 63mm of penetration. They have a really good velocity as well of 530, so you can launch them from miles away and still be able to hit the targets. You still have the SAKOs with the really good penetration, but these are kind of more the boom-bastic rockets if you want to bring them in. Another thing to also note about helicopters, which is a quite interesting change, is they've added some kind of loadout changes to them. So the AH-64D, the AH Mark I, the KA-50, the Mi-28NM, the Tiger UHT, Tiger HAD, and HAP a new group has been added to the suspended weaponry menu. The weapon presets have been sorted into those groups. So just to give you an example, with the AH-64D, you can see here that you have the multi-purpose weapons, the to hit ground targets and to hit armored targets ones. So basically, these are missiles, these are rockets and missiles, these are rockets, missiles, and air-to-air missiles on top of it, plus obviously the countermeasures for these guys as well. So they've just made it a little bit easier to order. I wonder if they're going to give these guys the customization loadouts. They probably will eventually at some point. The MiG-17 also gets access to some napalm bombs. These things are the ZAB 500s that you can see here. These are kind of the first napalm bombs that we've seen in the game. They don't have a lot of explosive filler in them, so they have a TNT equivalent of 240 grams, so it's very low for the vehicle. Just to give you an idea, these standard 250s have 97 kilos of explosive mass in them, which is TNT. So obviously the TNT equivalent is tiny for these, but the main thing that you want is the max armor penetration, high explosive action, and the radius of fragment dispersion, which is 8 meters. So you're going to have some spread of fire. If you want to see these being used, you'll have to go to the aviation video. For some reason, when I try and load this thing, it hangs my driver, my video driver, so kind of annoying to deal with at the end of the day. Another vehicle that gets an upgrade is the Morecombaran, and this is the Finnish vehicle in the Swedish tech tree. This one is a premium vehicle, and they've replaced one of the guns in it. So what it has is it still gets the 7.5mm Mach 1934s, the French guns. Now it gets access to an MG151, the 20mm variant, with 120 rounds, so giving it a little bit more of a buff going forward. Also, at the same time, for naval, they have actually changed a few things as well. Now when it comes to aiming at naval, especially with larger ships, this will be useful. What they've done is they've added in a new system to how the actual guns kind of work. So what you'll end up being able to do is, after firing your main guns, you will be able to control your secondaries while the main guns are reloading. So for the HUD example, I think it's probably apt to use this one just because it's right here. And also at the same time, it's one of the newer vehicles. If you are waiting to aim at a target, like over here, you do actually have to sort out the controls. So if you go to the weaponry area, as you can see, main and auxiliary caliber shooting with one button. So yes, so you just got to keep that on. Then you can see, while the other guns are getting in the target, I now have control of some of my secondaries. So I can fire them instead while waiting for the larger guns to actually come in. So this is pretty cool. It means that you don't have to twiddle around with different keys if you don't want to. And once those main guns are coming into line, it will then switch over to those controls when you know, they're ready to go. So we'll wait for them to happen. You can see that we can still use the secondaries here while the main guns are turning. This means that in battleships and battle cruisers, while you're waiting for these to get on target, it'll be a little bit easier. So you can see 2 guns have gone on target now, and they're ready to go. And then the other guns are coming to bear as well. We'll wait for them to come. Actually, no, we won't, because they're too slow. So you fire the guns of the main caliber, and then if you want to fire the guns of the second caliber, while it's on reload, you can then fire your secondary guns again. So this means that you can control them while the other guns are reloading. And that, to me, is super cool. So it just means that you actually have more interactive gameplay with these ships. Instead of having to twiddle with buttons, instead of having to move them around, it's just a nice little addition. So it's super cool for that, and will be really good, especially going for larger ships going forward. I think as well, now don't quote me on this because I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the T-3485 D5T has a new model. You can see that all of the different welding and all of the different scrapes on it look really nice. You also have the welded area here, which looks super nice. So I'm pretty sure this T-34 85 has an updated model. They did show it on the Russian stream as well, so I'm pretty sure it does. I might be wrong, but yeah, that's something to also look out for. And another thing is they've massively revamped a lot of engine sounds for ground vehicles in the game. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. I will be doing another video which will look at many more of them, but just to give you a little bit of a taste of what these things sound like. They sound so much better than before, especially specific vehicles which have obviously had a lot of work on. So this is the Tiger II. You can hear that it is way more beefy compared to before, even with the planes going overhead. You can hear the wheels and the tracks as well. And then if you come to a stop, you can see how much nicer those sounds are on the vehicle itself. And then it isn't just, you know, certain vehicles which have these additions. A ton of them in the game have these additions. So comparing, let's say, that heavy tank, the Tiger IIH, with its girthiness, let's now listen to the Weasel, just to give you a bit of contrast compared to this stuff. Sounds like a race car. And then, of course, we have some more personal sounds on certain vehicles as well. And one of them, which is very obvious compared to others, is the Centurions. The Centurions have got a massive upgrade as well. And as I said, these engine sounds are across the board for a lot of vehicles. There is actually a bunch of them which haven't been touched, but many have. So just to give you an idea of the Centurion one, we'll let this plane go overhead first. It's as if the engine is trying to kill itself, puttering along. And then right at the end, as you take the finger off the accelerator, even a bit of a misfire. Attention to detail is always nice, as usual. So that is all of the nice little additions compared to, you know, the previous updates that good old Danger Zone is going to be bringing. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Merciless Reaper, Jerry Provolt, Mega Dino King, Professor X1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Eugen's Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Moxie, B. Young, and Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.